Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the SummerSlam 2019 review. And SummerSlam ended almost about an hour ago. It ended at 10:30, which was good. Thank God it didn't go to like midnight, so I'm glad about that. But it is now 11:21 when I am recording this review. But I know I said at the end of my previous video, which was the WWE Shop t-shirt unboxing, where I got the Raw Reunion shirt. I know I said I was going to see the kitchen, but I was thinking it over, and to me, I would rather wait for a stream to see the film. It doesn't look like a film that I have to rush out to the theater to see. And I know it has Melissa McCarthy in it, Tiffany Haddish. Not the biggest Melissa McCarthy fan, and I like Tiffany Haddish, but I know it's based. I know it's like a gangster film, but I know, and I know it's under the DC Vertigo label, part of like a maybe like a comic based under the DC Vertigo label. But I'll probably check it out when it comes on a stream in good quality. But on to the SummerSlam 2019 review. SummerSlam was from Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. Of course, last night they had NXT TakeOver Toronto, which was an amazing show. Street Profits still retained the NXT Tag Team Championships. Shayna Baszler took on Mia Yim, which I thought was the weakest match of the show, in my opinion. Candice LeRae versus Io Shirai was amazing. And Gargano versus Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole 3 in that 2 out of 3 falls match. It was, when it got to like the last part, which was in that barbed wire steel cage, it was classic to me, in my opinion. It was one of the best matches in NXT of this year, in my opinion. And with Adam Cole winning last night, there was a video that went on WWE.com. It was a WWE.com exclusive, and there was people, chanting, "Thank you, Johnny." So it looks like after that, Johnny Gargano is now being called up to the main roster. He's now going to the main roster, which has me worried, because we all know when Vince brings up a talent from NXT, he's going to underutilize them and just have them in catering, or just make jobbers out of them. But I fear for Johnny Gargano on the main roster. If they don't, use him properly, his nickname, Johnny Wrestling, is going to be known as Johnny Catering, because that's where he's going to possibly be, in catering. So, but yeah, has me worried for Gargano on the main roster. I mean, he's done everything in NXT. So what's there else for Johnny to do in NXT? He's done it all. So, but overall, those are my opinions and my thoughts on NXT TakeOver Toronto. Amazing show. Now, SummerSlam. While I have to admit, this year's SummerSlam, I thought it was solid. I thought it was a solid show. Wasn't perfect by any means. It had some good matches. It had some stuff that were meh, that I thought was meh. But overall, it was a solid show. Was it as good as NXT TakeOver Toronto? Hell no. But NXT TakeOver Toronto, it was the better show. Not to say that SummerSlam was flat out all terrible, because it wasn't. I mean, it was a solid show. So, but let's get started with the review. I'm going to start with the matches that were on the pre-show. One match that I didn't get to see was Drew Gulak versus Oney Lorcan for the Cruiserweight Championship. Drew Gulak won. He still retained the Cruiserweight Championship. And then we had another match. There was 3 matches on the pre-show. Drew Gulak versus Oney Lorcan was the first. The second, which I did get to see, the last 2 I did get to see. The second match on the pre-show was Buddy Murphy versus Apollo Crews. And overall, it was okay. It was back and forth between Buddy Murphy and Apollo Crews. You could tell that the match was just, thrown together. Just a, your ordinary pre-show match. But the match ended in a disqualification because Rowan ended up coming out. He ended up being up on Buddy Murphy. So if you remember on SmackDown this past Tuesday, Buddy Murphy told Roman who his attacker was. And Buddy Murphy was just screaming, "Oh, it was Rowan, it was Rowan." And so that's what we got on the pre-show with Rowan attacking Buddy Murphy. Ended up throwing Buddy Murphy into the barricade. Ended up taking out Buddy Murphy. Overall, it was an okay match between Buddy Murphy and Apollo Crews. Then we had the women's tag team match for the women's tag team championships. It was Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus the IIconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. Of course, getting their rematch. And match itself, it was meh, in my opinion. Although I did like what Alexa Bliss was wearing. Her attire was, she was dressed as Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story. As we all know, Alexa Bliss is a big, huge Disney fan. So as you could see on, when she posts it on her social media. But Alexa and Nikki end up getting the win. They still retain the women's tag team championships. But overall, it was meh match. And now we get to the main card, the regular matches. And the first match to kick off SummerSlam. Oh, and what was really cool was they brought the pyro as the show opened, which was really cool. So it was really cool to see pyro. And the first match to kick off the show was Becky Lynch and Natalya for the Raw Women's Championship. It was a submission match. And this was a pretty decent match between the both of them. Very back and forth. Becky Lynch, of course, the crowd was behind her. She did really well here. Natalya, it's in her home country. Really enjoyed Natalya in the match as well. Yeah, at one point, a good counter where Natalya ended up locking in the sharpshooter from the top rope, and she locked in the sharpshooter on Becky from the top rope, which was cool to see, and that was very original. We never seen that before. But Becky Lynch got the win. She still retains the Raw Women's Championship. End up locking in the disarmer on Natalya. So of course, WWE, when they're in a superstar's home state or home country. They make them lose. They make, the superstar from their home state or their home country lose. So there are some points where, they make them win. But Becky Lynch ends up retaining the Raw Women's Championship. Overall, decent match between the both of them. And like I said, for this SummerSlam, I said this in my Raw and SmackDown reviews. This build for SummerSlam was fucking terrible. It was absolutely horrible. But, because, when they were building, of course, we had the Raw reunion, which there was no build for SummerSlam when that was happening. So, the whole build for the SummerSlam was fucking terrible. And then we had Trish Stratus. She was being interviewed. Trish says she feels great. And she also feels nervous and excited. She says she's a Hall of Famer and a 7-time women's champion. She says her light shines brightest under the biggest spotlight. And the hardest part is the waiting. Trish says Charlotte Flair's been running around saying the women of today are better athletes than when they were competing. She ends up saying Charlotte has no idea how lucky she is. So Trish ends up saying she's going to prove to everyone that Charlotte couldn't walk a mile in her boots. And if Charlotte's the queen, then she says she's the queen of queens. So pretty decent interview from Trish. It's good to see Trish again. Of course, in her home country. So then we had the next match. Goldberg versus Dolph Ziggler. And before the match got underway, Dolph made his entrance, gets on the mic, cuts a promo about saying how he's the best thing to happen to the show and also to WWE. So it was that from Dolph. And then we had Goldberg make his entrance. And the match got on the way. Basically, what this match was, Dolph delivered a super kick to Goldberg, ended up pinning Goldberg. Goldberg kicked out of it. Dolph laid another super kick, went for the pin. Goldberg kicked out of that. Goldberg spears Dolph, then lays out Dolph with the jackhammer slam, pin. There you go. Goldberg won the match. And then we had post-match. Dolph, of course, like an idiot, calls Goldberg out again. And he gets on the mic and says, it was like getting hit like a baby. And that Goldberg doesn't have the guts to fight him man to man. So Goldberg ends up heading back to the ring. Gets in there, hits another spear to Dolph. Goldberg exits the ring. Then once again, idiot Dolph gets on the mic again, calls Goldberg out. Ends up telling Goldberg anybody can get lucky twice. He ends up calling Goldberg an idiot. And he says, he keeps running Goldberg down. He ends up saying that he'll never stay down. Goldberg comes back in. He draws Dolph up, looks at Dolph, and he starts patting Dolph's back. Goldberg starts patting Dolph on the back. And then Goldberg lays Dolph out with a third spear. And that was that. So do we really need Dolph on the mic saying, "Oh, you know, you don't have the guts to fight me man to man," or I'll never stay down. When we shouldn't have got that. We should have just went right to the next match. I mean, what was the need for this? This was just to make Dolph look like a fucking idiot. So. Then we had, after that, Kofi Kingston was shown getting ready for the match that he's having with Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. Big E and Xavier Woods come up to Kofi. They give him a pep talk. And they bring Drake Maverick, who looks like an idiot wearing, his hat back there with the shades, has a gold chain that he's wearing, a long chain, thinks he's looking all gangster. Looked like he was just showing off. So he says they bought Drake Maverick here under false pretenses, and that R-Truth isn't here at all. Well, technically, R-Truth was on SummerSlam, but he was, with those international announcers. It was like a parody. Carmella was in disguise. Truth was in disguise. But it was funny. Sorry about that, but I was saying, they were in disguise, both Carmella and R-Truth, when they were showing like the international commentators. And then we had the next match. AJ Styles versus Ricochet for the United States Championship. And overall, it was a decent match. Although what Ricochet was wearing, it was like a Nightwing attire that he was wearing. At first I'm like, what? Why is Ricochet wearing this attire? He looks, ugh. It was, I thought at first it was meh. It was a meh attire that Ricochet was wearing. And, with him wearing this attire, I'm like, you think he's going to get over with, him wearing this attire? No. To me, in my opinion. But, I don't know. It just looked ridiculous, his attire, Ricochet. So, but the match itself, it was decent. Of course, you had the Gallows and Anderson out there on the floor. You had this part where Ricochet jumped on Gallows and Anderson and took out Styles on the floor, which was cool. And Styles was going for Ricochet's knee. And Styles ended up winning the match. He ended up in the Styles Clash because Ricochet was going to take out Styles, but Styles countered Ricochet's move into the Styles Clash, which was cool. So Styles ends up winning the match, retaining the United States Championship. And then you have post-match, Styles, told Anderson and Gallows to beat down on Ricochet. They end up picking up Ricochet, and they hit the Magic Killer on him. And then they do all three of them do a 2-sweet after that happened. Overall, decent match from Styles and Ricochet. Then we had the Street Profits were backstage, the NXT Tag Team Champions, who retained last night in an awesome match. So they were backstage. They were running their, recap of the show. And we see, surprise, Ric Flair comes in. And the Nature Boy, he's having a fun moment with the Street Profits. And, they all, woo! They all do that together, which was cool. I mean, it was a cool little appearance to see Ric Flair there. Then we had the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Bayley versus Ember Moon. Did not care for this match. Did not give a shit. Even the crowd was so silent during this match. But it was just back and forth between Bayley and Ember. And you had Ember Moon. She did a Hurricanrana to Bayley from the top, which was kind of cool to see. But Bayley got the win. She retains the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley to belly to Ember Moon. So, I mean, did you all think that Ember was going to win when Vince McMahon doesn't really care for Ember Moon? Doesn't really like Ember Moon? I even knew going into this match that Bayley was going to retain. But there you go. Bayley retains the SmackDown Women's Championship. Overall, did not care for this match. Then we had Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. If Shane won, then Owens would quit WWE. And before the match got underway, of course, you had Shane come out. Greg Hamilton does the whole best in the world, that annoying shit. And Shane gets on the mic. And he says for this match, he issued a special guest referee. And the special guest referee was none other than Elias. Yeah, Boy Elias. Was the special guest referee. Oh, and I forgot to mention during the pre-show, I did get a chance to see this a little bit, but Elias was in the ring. He was just doing his shtick, and he had a appearance by Edge. Yeah, Edge appeared on the pre-show, and it was awesome to see Edge. It was in his home country, so it was kind of cool. It was cool to see Edge again, and he delivered a spear. Edge delivered a spear to Elias, which I applauded him for. So it was cool. It was cool to see Edge. But so you had your special guest referee for this match, who was Elias. He was just on the outside. He got involved in parts of the match here where Kevin Owens was just looking at Elias, and he ended up taking out Elias and also the referee. He dived off the ring apron and took out Elias. And at the end of the match, Kevin Owens ended up hitting the stunner to Shane. And so there you go. Kevin Owens ends up winning the match. Also, this was in Kevin Owens' home country. So he got a big pop from the crowd. Overall, decent match from Owens and Shane. Now we had Charlotte versus Trish. Charlotte Flair versus Trish Stratus. This match I really enjoyed. Really enjoyed seeing Trish back in the ring. It showed that she still has it. Even though she's a mother. With a kid. And it shows that she could do it. She showed no ring rust in this match. She did her chops that she did where point in the match where she how that chop that she did where she always licked her hand and delivered that chop. She did that to Charlotte. Little old school there with Trish. And you had her doing she did the Stratisfaction to Charlotte, which shockingly, Charlotte kicked out of that. I mean, when was the last time you saw somebody kick out of the Stratisfaction? When Trish was, still going in the ring. I can't remember, but it was cool to see Trish do the Stratisfaction again. You had a point where Trish ended up locking in the figure 4, and she bridged it into the figure 8, which was Charlotte's move, and that was really cool to see. Had Trish Stratus locking in the figure 8 on Charlotte. Unfortunately, Charlotte got to the ropes, ended up breaking up, the move. But, unfortunately, this is what, to me, I'm like, why they do this when Charlotte didn't, tap out to it? So we have Charlotte. At the end of the match, Charlotte locks in the figure 4, bridges it into the figure 8, and then Trish just automatically taps out. So you're telling me Charlotte doesn't tap out, but you have Trish end up tapping out to it? Yeah, I kind of want to see Trish win this match. It's in her home country, though. But they gave the win to Charlotte. But overall, I enjoyed the match. I thought it was entertaining. It was cool to see it. Like I said, it was cool seeing Trish go at it in the ring again. Proves that she still got it. And you know how some of these legend superstars, they come back in the ring, at some point for like a special match, and usually they would have a little ring rust. Trish right here, like I said, she was good. She was awesome. She showed no ring rust whatsoever. But overall, enjoyed the match. And post-match, the crowd gave a ovation to Trish. Trish was, pointing to the crowd, standing on the the top. So that was a very cool moment. Then we move on to the WWE Championship match, Randy Orton versus Kofi Kingston. And the match itself, it was decent, but a shitty end, in my opinion. It was a terrible end to this match. But, you saw Kofi's family sitting, in the front. And it was back and forth between Orton and Kofi. Orton looked like he was going to dominate points in the match. Try to take down Kofi. But in the end, you had both of them, Kofi and Orton, outside the ring. Orton was looking at Kofi's family. He was pulling Kofi by his hair. And then you just see Kofi just throwing, swinging, arms at Orton. He was just swinging away at Orton. And the referee was still counting while the both of them were out there. And so while Kofi was, throwing, punches at Orton, the match ended right there. It ended in a double count out because they were brawling on the floor. And what was really cool before that even happened, Kofi dove off the top, and Orton countered with the RKO, which was awesome. And then you have, Orton just, standing there laughing. He was on his back just laughing. He was trying to capitalize. Kofi was able to roll out to the floor, and that's when the brawl to the outside on the floor happened, and the ref called for the double count out. Post-match, Kofi ends up retrieving a kendo stick from under the ring, hits it to Orton, and he was just shattering that kendo stick on Orton. And that was pretty much it. So it was a shitty end to the match. Ends with a double count out. So all in all, like I said, the match itself was decent, but what a shitty ending. Then we had Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt, aka The Fiend. And I was waiting to see what Bray Wyatt's new entrance was going to be. And I gotta say, this entrance that they did for Bray Wyatt as The Fiend, I thought it was very well done. This entrance was fucking awesome. It gave me the chills, in my opinion. It was very creepy. And the intro started with the Firefly Funhouse theme. Then it slowly transformed into the words that said, "Let me in." And we had Bray Wyatt's old music that he had. Sorry about that, but I was saying, they took Bray Wyatt's music, his old music theme, and they redid it in a more like evil, like sort of like rockish like theme to it. It was almost a remix of his old theme, but done in like a sort of like an evil rockish kind of way. And you had him made his entrance. He had a jacket, he had the Fiend mask, and he was carrying a lantern. And the lantern was in the creation of a head, and the light was shining from the mouth. So I thought that was really cool. And like I said, this whole entrance for Bray Wyatt the Fiend now, it was very well done. And I hope WWE doesn't screw around with Bray Wyatt, as the Fiend. He moved pretty well here in the match against Finn Balor. And we all knew that Finn Balor had to take a loss here. Because if Bray Wyatt ended up taking a loss here, then WWE would have already screwed with Bray Wyatt and the Fiend character. But, Balor ended up coming back. He ended up hitting the sling blade to the Fiend. But in the end, Balor went from the top, and the Fiend ended up locking in the mandible claw to Balor. He made Balor pass out. The referee counted to 3, and there you go. The Fiend ended up winning the match, which we all knew that he was going to win. He needed this win. And fortunately, when Finn Balor came out, we didn't get the Demon. But hopefully, if they continue to do this with Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt, maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll get the Fiend versus the Demon at some point. Who knows? That would be kind of cool to see the Fiend and the Demon go at it. But overall, it was decent. It was a decent match. It was cool to see Bray Wyatt come out with his new entrance. It was like I said, it was very well done. There you go. I'm looking forward to what they're going to do with Bray Wyatt as the Fiend now, as the character progresses against other opponents. Yeah, that was the best. That was the best thing of one of the best things of SummerSlam tonight was seeing the Fiend entrance, Bray Wyatt. Then we had the main event, Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. And match itself, it was entertaining. Seth Rollins, of course, was bandaged up after the attack from last Monday, and the week before that, where Brock Lesnar ended up F5ing Seth on the chair, and also on that stretcher. But there was times in the match where Seth Rollins ended up countering the suplex, where every time Lesnar went to suplex Seth ended up just end up getting on his feet. Leaping and jumping on his feet, trying to reverse that, and it led to Seth Rollins doing the curb stomp. He ends up going to pin Brock Lesnar. Lesnar kicked out of that. Lesnar tried to suplex Seth again. Seth ended up landing on his feet and ended up trying to hit the curb stomp. Lesnar ended up reversing it, F5 to Seth Rollins. The point where Seth Rollins, I think he dove from the top onto the announce table, which was awesome. And it took Seth quite a few times to keep the Beast down. He hit the curb stomp once again later on. Lesnar kicked out of that. Tried to burn it down again. Seth ended up laying out another curb stomp to Brock Lesnar. And this was at the end of the match. Another curb stomp to Brock Lesnar. And Seth went for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins is now a 2-time Universal Champion. And, he didn't low blow Lesnar at all here. So, Seth Rollins wins the match. Now a 2-time Universal Champion, which is cool. But all in all, entertaining match. It was a decent match between the both of them. And it was cool to see Seth reverse and not get, a suplex from Brock Lesnar. He just, Seth just landed on his feet. So I liked that. And there was supposed to be another thing to happen tonight at SummerSlam, which was the guy here, which was supposed to be a segment with Daniel Bryan, Rowan, and Roman Reigns. But unfortunately, there was an article stating that SummerSlam was being rewritten maybe 10, 15 minutes from when the show went on the air at 7 o'clock. The main show went on 7 o'clock. So they ended up writing out that segment with Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, and Rowan. And the show just ended with Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar. Seth ended up holding up the Universal Championship, and SummerSlam ended, went off the air. So we didn't get the segment with Rowan, Daniel Bryan, and Roman Reigns. So maybe they're saving it for SmackDown this Tuesday. So there you go. That was SummerSlam. Overall, solid show. There's matches that were good, some that were meh, but there was some stuff that were meh, but overall, solid show. Anyways, that's it for my review of SummerSlam 2019. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned tomorrow night for my Monday Night Raw review. Let's hope it's a decent show with some surprises. Hopefully it'll happen, and so let's see what happens tomorrow night on Raw. So, anyways, thank you all for watching, and until the Monday Night Raw review, I'll see you all back here tomorrow night.